Have you ever felt like a failure in relationships or a failure in love? We're going to dive into this conversation today. I'm going to share with you 5 things that changed my love life. Here's the thing, isn't the whole purpose of dating or relationships because you want love? It isn't it about that? Isn't it about love? Well, I'm sharing this because I'm going to be very candid with you. I am deeply, passionately in love with someone. Now, I don't mean it from the love bombing perspective that represents lust or limerence. And limerence is simply extreme infatuation. I'm talking about a deep love where you genuinely feel like you are with a life partner. And for a man to be saying this so early on in the relationship, I know I'm only 4 months in, and some people could criticize this might be too early. But I can tell you there's a big difference between that lust and limerence based type of love, that love bombing type of love, versus a deep care for someone, and more importantly, a deep friendship. What is friendship? Friendship is someone that you just feel comfortable talking with, that you don't have to walk on pins and needles, that you don't feel afraid that they're going to leave you if you say something that is about the relationship. Even discussing where this relationship going for many of you feels like you're walking on eggshells, that you have, and please forgive this analogy, you have duct tape over your mouth. You know, when you meet someone where you're clicking, you're vibing, you share the same values, you have the same vision for a relationship, your lifestyles are blendable with one another, and more importantly, they're emotionally mature enough to be in relationship, that is a game changer when it comes to feeling deeply loved. What does it feel like to be loved? First off, you recognize that the person is present with you. When you speak to them, you can tell they're not thinking about the next thing to say. They're not trying to argue with you. They're not trying to bully you into what they want. They genuinely care about your feelings. They're actively listening. They're questioning in the sense of like, tell me more what you want to say. And you feel that for each other. Let me ask you, have you ever felt that kind of deep love? And I'm not talking about the chemical high of the lust you feel when you have chemistry with someone. I'm talking about something deep in the heart where you feel it on a heart level. You even feel it on a soul level. See, here's the thing. Many of us judge our past relationships and look at them as failures. What if all of our past experiences was our training ground, our breeding ground, our weightlifting, if you will, to get into shape? What if that is what this is all about? And so in a moment, I'm going to share with you 5 things that changed my love life. And I'm inviting everyone to lean into this conversation for themselves and ask yourselves, have you done this to be prepared for the kind of relationship you seek? See, real love doesn't happen in the fantasy. More importantly, it doesn't happen in the way romantic comedies happen. Many of us who are baby boomers or Gen Xers grew up with the Cinderella story of what love would be like, or even the movie Notebook or Serendipity. Actually, one of my all-time favorite movies is Serendipity. If it's the same for you, write Serendipity and give me a thumbs up. But what I'm here to say is the fantasy way we've built our experience of what should love feel. Well, let me reframe that. Love should feel fantastic, but being prepared for love takes Herculean work. Now, many of you just want it easy. You want it served up on a platter. You feel like you deserve it. And it's one of the reasons why many of you are struggling, and where others of you are doing the deep inner work to be prepared, to developing your communication skills so you can actually be in the type of relationship that our current environment requires. See, our current environment doesn't need the whole masculine provider, protector, and women submit to the man, and all she does is make his life easy. Certainly that's available for many of you. But today's relationships require so much more. They require a deep emotional connection to build the deep roots of trust, to sustain the relationship, to be partners with one another. And more importantly, I'm going to ask you, do you want to be in a life partnership-based relationship? If you genuinely want to be in a life partnership relationship, do me a favor, write the word life partnership and give me a thumbs up. Just even put that in the chat box or the comments. I'd really like to see how many of you want a life partnership-based relationship, because here's the thing. Casual relationships, you can have a dopamine hit of love, but it's rarely building the serotonin form of love that builds those deep roots of trust. So I said before, we have to do our weight training, if you will. We have to do our exercise. Well, you don't have to do anything. I'm inviting you to do the heavy lifting work to be prepared for real love. Now, the first thing of these 5 things that changed my love life is your past isn't wasted. It's your training ground. Many of you followed my channel know I went through a divorce 20 years ago. I was a train wreck after my divorce. I was going out on date after date after date. I was chasing chemistry. I was chasing lust. I was chasing limerence. And sadly, I also was using online dating as a form of self-medication. And more importantly, I was using it as a replacement to therapy. Let me repeat that. I was using it as a replacement to therapy. See, I was such a train wreck that I'd have conversations with women talking about my problems and having someone listen, and going from one person to the next to the next. I probably have had hundreds of first dates in those first few years after my divorce, going from one person to the next. And the reason why that happened is I talked to someone, share my life, and then I'd hide and cower. And I talked to the next person and talk about my life, and I'd hide and cower. And it wasn't until a couple of years later where I actually made a dear friend online. And we actually were in some ways giving therapy to one another. But at the same time, I began recognizing that I was the common denominator of my problems. And because of that, I started to do personal development, self-help, spiritual work, and even therapy to be better preparing myself for the love of my life. And by the way, it's one of the reasons why I wrote my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, Spiritual Work. There's a link below to get a copy of my book in my Jonathan Recommend Books page. Why I'm sharing this with you is as I look back to my past relationships, I'm talking about those first dates that didn't go anywhere, those short-lived 1 or 2 month experiences. And then prior to meeting my beloved in the past 4 months, I had 2 significant relationships. Now I'm going to ask yourself right now, how many significant relationships have you had to this point? Now, I also had a marriage in there. So if you're single and looking for love, count your marriage. And in my case, I have to count those 2 significant relationships. And I look at a significant relationship is one where you were together for 6 months or longer. And when I say 6 months, you're actively seeing each other on a regular basis, okay? And look at those relationships and ask yourself, what positive things about myself did I learn in each relationship? How have I healed from each relationship? What was good about each relationship? What was not good? And lastly, what are you most grateful for? Because none of it was wasted. So your past isn't wasted to prepare you for where you're at today watching this video. Number 2, do the deep inner work. Healing childhood wounds, adult traumas, grieving old losses, regulating your nervous system, and learning self-love are essential tips to being better prepared for a healthy, happy relationship. See, sadly today, we have a population of walking wounded. And here's the thing. What's funny is many of you are watching this going, yeah, I know everybody else is wounded, but they're oftentimes not looking in the mirror. We humans can gaslight ourselves to think we are not the problem. Ladies and gentlemen who are watching this, I recognize that I was a significant problem. It's one of the reasons why I did the Hoffman process. I did insight seminars. I did therapy sessions. I did group therapy sessions. I have probably amassed over 3,000 hours of personal development workshops and trainings in the last 15 plus years of my life. I've been doing a lot of heavy lifting. Now, part of that is so I can be a coach and help others. There's no doubt about it. But if you haven't done some deep introspective work to recognize your fears, your insecurities, your negative patterns, your limiting belief, your judgments, even your love attachment style. If you're not familiar with love attachment style, I highly recommend reading the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. By the way, all the books I recommend are listed below. Folks, if you don't recognize, and oh, by the way, here's the thing about attachment style. You'll go online to take the test. You can go look it up online, and you're all going to be secure. That's because we gaslight ourselves. By the way, only about 30% of the population is secure, and 80% of those people are already in a relationship. Of those of us, well, I'm no longer single because I'm in a relationship, but those who are single in a relationship, there's a good chance you're an insecure attachment style. You're either anxious or you're avoidant or you're disorganized. You're one or the other, depending on the person you're with. Do the deep inner work. Learn your love attachment styles. Learn something called the Imago. If you haven't read the book, Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix, Helen Hunt, highly recommend reading this book. Folks, all of this inner work prepared me for the relationship that I'm in right now. And let me just say this, all of that work also helped prepare my communication skills. So number 3 is mastering communication skills. Lasting love requires honest conversations, listening without being defensive, expressing fears without blame, and staying present when things feel hard. Staying present when things feel hard. You know, most of everybody, I'm going to tell you something. I guarantee you 90% of those of you watching right now think you have good communication skills and everybody else is the problem. But first off, if you're a woman watching this, many of you have duct tape on your mouth. And many of the guys here are rather clueless because you guys communicate from a logical perspective and not an emotional perspective. So I'm going to invite everyone to read this book, Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. I highly recommend checking this out. This is a game changer of books because mastering communication skills is so critically important. Learning how to resolve conflict in a kind, loving way instead of the righteous way. I'm right and you're wrong. By the way, I sometimes can get righteous here on my channel. I'm going to own that on occasions, mainly because I want everyone to elevate their game, to elevate their love life. See, our failed relationships are just preparing us for genuine, real love. And that's what I want for everyone. And yet many of you are stuck on the fairy tale. So number 4 is releasing the fairy tale. See, here's the thing. I'm a big proponent of intentional dating. Love isn't some magical chemistry. I know we'd all like to have that fairy tale where it's just perfect right from the get-go. Do you know sometimes, and in many cases, the couples that start off with little or no chemistry and the ones that build it over a little bit of time have the deepest roots of trust within their relationship because they weren't clouded by attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. And many of you ladies are like, I'm the woman, I deserve this. Oh my God, have you ever watched TikTok videos? There is an entitled group of women that believe that they deserve some sort of entertainment romance. And by the way, those end up being short-lived relationships. And oftentimes those that are desirous of that, sadly, ladies, you attract the love bombers, the ones that will feed that egoic need. But it's time to release the fantasy and embrace intentional dating. What does intentional dating look like? Look, it starts by asking radically honest questions in the very beginning. I know we can be, but Jonathan, all the other dating coaches tell me just have fun. It's all about fun. Just enjoy each other. Don't make it so complicated and serious. Hey, the minute you kiss someone, that's a game changer. It used to be sex was the defining factor. Now, when we kiss someone, do you realize we're exchanging chemicals, we're exchanging pheromones and hormones and all this stuff, and we can actually become attached to someone that you might kiss on a first date? Don't you think they should be worthy of that kiss? We used to set the bar pretty high with sex. Now the bar is so low with sex. And it's like, well, Jonathan, women are empowered. They can do what they want. Certainly you can. I'm not here to deny that. Men are oftentimes a little detached when it comes to physical intimacy. But the reality is the minute you exchange bodily fluids, you're absorbing their DNA. You're absorbing a part of their energy. And I'm here to say, ask better questions before you get there. Build some trust with one another. Build some trust with one another. Build some trust with one another. How do you build trust? Social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, seeing each other 2, 3, 4 days and nights a week together. Do those shared activities, spend time with family and friends, even traveling together. That builds the deep roots of trust that possibly can sustain a long-term relationship. And let me repeat this. Do you want a life partnership-based relationship, or are you seeking a casual relationship? Today's environment, today's singles, most of them just want a part-time relationship. Now, part-time relationships are great. You get to do your own life and you get to do life with another. It's great part-time. But ultimately, for those of us in midlife, and folks, I'm in my 60s, okay? I'm going to own it. I'm in my 60s. Look, at the days in front of me are shorter than the days behind me. I want someone that's going to go to the colonoscopy appointment with me. I want someone that's going to go to the hip replacement appointment with me. I want someone to go to the knee replacement appointment with me. I want someone that's going to hopefully be by my side when one of us go. And I'm certainly prepared to be by someone else's side, because that's what love is all about. But Jonathan, I don't want to be a nurse and a purse to someone. Well, here's the reality of life. Most people don't have enough money to support 2 people. Okay? It's very rare. But more importantly, doing life by ourselves is radically challenged. We no longer live in tribes. We no longer live in environments where many of our needs can be parsed out by the people around us. Let's release that fairy tale, embrace the realities of what it's like to be in midlife. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Release the fantasy of chemistry and start intentionally dating. And by the way, if you need support with that, see this link right here? Schedule a discovery call with me. That's my whole area of expertise, is teaching you discernment, to teach you intentional dating instead of the fairy tale based way. And number 5, last but not least, use online dating as a tool. Hey, folks, whether you like it or not, online dating isn't a trap. It's a great tool to connect with people you wouldn't otherwise connect with. But learn to navigate it wisely and intentionally. It's how many people meet. In fact, my beloved and I met through a dating app. And I'm here to say, dating apps aren't going away. In fact, dating apps are the number one place people meet. But if you go in with a negative attitude, sour, bitter, and you don't know how to use it as an effective tool, then let me ask yourself, you can join every meetup group in town. By the way, that's exhausting to join every move. You could pretend like you're going to bump into someone at a Starbucks. Yes, that happens about as often as winning the lottery ticket. Okay? I'm here to say online dating is a great tool. It's a pain in the ass, no doubt. You have to weed through a lot of looky-loos. But if you've got hundreds of matches, focus on the ones that live a few miles away. Start from there. And if you need some support with that, you can reach out to me. That's my area of expertise. And let me just say this to the men and women that are listening to this right now. I guarantee if I looked at your profile right now, this is what I would think. Ugh, many of you have curated such poor profiles, and no wonder you're frustrated with the dating process. And if you elevate your game, you have a greater chance for success. These are the 5 things that changed my love life. And let me tell you something, my beloved and I met through a dating app. Now, I'll be candid with you. We met first through Bumble, then through Match, and eventually through Hinge, okay? It took us 3 chances to get there. We finally pulled our head out of our ass and said, let's finally meet. But I'm grateful for every experience. And folks, they say love is a risk, but I can tell you now that I'm deeply in love, and it's very rare a man talks about love. Maybe I sound a little like Tom Cruise when he met his wife some years back. I know I'm sounding a little grandiose here, but I'm telling you folks, I am deeply in love, and I know she deeply loves me. She sent me a beautiful message an hour before recording this video, and I know And I match her words identical to the words she sends me. And that's what I want for you. And I invite everyone to shift their perspective, do the inner work, learn how to use online dating as a tool, let go of the fantasy, and recognize that your past was never wasted. It was preparing you for today. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. Do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, hey, there's links below. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. Follow me on Instagram. Get the books I recommend and get my dating vows listed below. You can join my mailing list from that link there.